we do this every time. We talk about stuff. We just start nerding out before we even turn the camera on and start recording the podcast. And so today you were just talking about, you've been testing 8 or 9 different accounts.
Yes.
With an old school strategy.
Yes.
And it's not new.
No,
it needs to happen.
Yeah.
Right? Offline events, specifically for Facebook.
Yep.
Google does this a little bit different, but we're going to be talking about Facebook today. Uploading offline events. Tell everyone out there what that means.
Yeah, essentially what you're doing, especially like if you have a Shopify store, but you can do it for WooCommerce or whatever, is whenever you have your buyers on your website, you would download your buyer list or export your orders, and then you would upload that information back into the offline events manager, which can be found in the events manager. You just have to create a new offline events account. Super easy, and then attach it to your ad account. But what you do is you upload that information and you just map the data, which is a fancy way of saying just make sure each column is named correctly, so that when you upload the CSV file or the Excel sheet or whatever, it can then understand what it is it should be looking for.
Okay.
And with this has helped tremendously on getting better information and data back into the ad accounts, because on the ads manager, if you don't upload it, seems like it misses a lot of the purchases.
Right.
And I have a specific account that essentially only runs ads to sell their product. So this is how I'm using it to measure, to make sure that it's accurate. Basically, it's like its own case study.
Right.
And so far, so good.
Yeah.
It seems like it does catch all of the purchases, where as before, here was the challenge that I would run into. We would run the ads, and we know this is the only source of traffic. And you would look into the ad account, but it would say like, you only got a few purchases off this ad, even though we may have had 10 or 15 of this exact product. And we're like, and we know it's not organic traffic.
Right.
Because this is a brand new shirt. We haven't even promoted it anywhere yet.
Right.
So the only way they could have purchased it was through the ad.
Right. So it's a brand new, this particular thing, a brand new product, whatever. Yep. There's no SEO
zero.
For that product. No email campaigns going out for that product. No organic social media, whatever for that product. It's a new product. You run ads for it. And in the back system, you're seeing 10, 20 purchases.
Yep.
But on the ads, you're seeing 3, 4 purchases.
Correct.
And those purchases had to come from the ad because that's the only source of traffic for that page.
Exactly.
And so you start uploading offline conversions.
So we start uploading the offline conversions, and what happens is all of that data gets fed back into the account, and it starts to show and match up with the amount of sales we actually had, and it breaks down per ad which ad was doing it. Right. Now, the challenge that we had before uploading this was you would look at the cost per purchases. If you had 10 sales, but Facebook Ads Manager on the front end is only showing like 3.
Right.
Well, your cost of purchase seems like it's outrageous.
Right.
Even though your ad spend to revenue matched what you needed.
Right.
And the challenge with that is you become tempted to turn off the campaigns just because the front end numbers are like, oh man, cost per purchase $48. That doesn't make any sense.
So you're ending up turning off an ad that's actually working, but it's Facebook's reporting that is inaccurate.
Exactly.
Right.
And it's tough to scale because even though your gut is telling you that this is happening, it's still like you just don't feel as confident making the decision of scaling something when the numbers themselves on the ads manager reporting are completely off.
Well, it's hard. You gotta trust your gut over trusting the Zuck.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good one. Trust your gut over the Zuck.
But there's also an actual problem with that, because if the ad account isn't tracking those sales, then algorithmically it's not going to keep performing, even though in the real world it is performing, because those numbers do reflect what the ad account algorithm thinks is happening. And so they know you're selling this product for $30, and if they're only showing 3 purchases when you actually had 20.
Yep.
They're assuming that your cost per purchase is way more than your actual product.
So then you lose.
And they think you're losing, and so they're thinking, well, this is just a terrible product. Let's give it to the other things that are performing. So even though you know this ad is working, it's not going to scale well. Because you've got to fix the algorithm data problem. So you're uploading these offline conversions. And I know in the past, I've done this in the past. In the past, we would either get duplicate conversions, it would over-report revenue, or it would it would tie it to the wrong campaign or the wrong ad account and everything like that. But you were saying that's still an issue.
Yes.
But it seems to get resolved over time. Like, tell me more about what you're saying there.
So right now, and this has just been, from just staring at this over and over and over again to see if this is a way that I can utilize. So it seems like initially there may be double reporting.
Okay.
Right? But I don't know if Facebook, because when you upload the events, especially when you first set up, it says in the I don't know, the captions or whatever, the disclaimer, it says that it deduplicates, anything that was maybe tracked on the front end and the back end. And it takes it out, right? And so initially when I tried it, it seemed like it was counting as 2. But then I look back at it, and it seems like the values went down to, like, they normalized. Like, somehow they went in and cleaned it up so that it's not over-reported.
Okay. So what I'm understanding when you say this, clarify if I'm wrong. What I'm understanding is when you initially make that upload, it takes, 30 minutes to an hour to churn through the offline data and attribute things. And then you can hop into Ads Manager, and it will show you how it did. So at first, it's still showing over-reporting revenue and over-reporting purchases. But what you're saying then is maybe after a few days or after a week, if you go look at that same time period, it seems to be much closer to reality. So it's like it's over-reporting for a bit, and then it normalizes over time. And it's almost like the deduplication happens over a 72-hour period or a 5-day period, whereas the revenue reporting is almost instantaneous after it does the matching.
So that's exactly what I'm saying. So that's what I've been really watching to see if that is the case, if it actually is deduplicating over time so that it is accurate. Because then if that's the case, then you would just, as long as you use the best practices that it says to use is as close to the purchase as possible, upload the data.
Oh, really? They say that?
Yeah. So I remember reading it somewhere. I think it's when you first set it up. It says make sure to put the information as close to the purchase as possible, meaning don't wait 3 weeks to upload your last 3 weeks of purchases and upload it, because then your match rate will not be as good. We've been using daily. So every single morning, uploading the purchases from the day before. That seems to be working, and it seems to make it a little more accurate. And it's just giving us better overall, like, at least understanding of what is working and what isn't. Because many times I've talked with clients, and in fact, there's another client that I'm thinking of that said this. Whatever ad you have running right now is working really well. And then when I looked in the Ads Manager, the cost per purchase were like really high. But in their Shopify account, they were doing really well. Like the ratio that I wanted from ad spend to revenue was 50% less than what I typically want, right? So like, meaning I typically want the ad cost to be, especially for a product, 30% or less of revenue. Makes sense? So I don't want to ever spend more than 30%.
For a physical product.
For a physical product.
Digital, you got more, you got a little more flexibility.
But
there.
Physical products, you have to, take into account cost of product and shipping and all that. I never want to spend more than 30%. They were spending, like, it was a 15%. So it was 50% less than the maximum that I would even want to spend. Which means it was like in perfect range. But the Ads Manager from what was being reported was way off compared to what was in their Shopify account. And so that's why I was like, man, there's got to be a way to figure out, like, because you feel like you're almost blind making decisions that way.
Interesting.
If you're like, So, and the other thing we talk about is if the ad account is only getting so little data, then it can't optimize as fast. So by uploading these offline conversions and then they can match it, it essentially speeds up the optimization. That's what I found.
Right.
That's my theory on why every single account that we're using this on, it has improved.
Yeah.
Like their sales numbers have improved without massive increases in budget.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've got I have so many questions about this because, again, this is not a new strategy.
Yeah.
But I feel like people, media buyers, whatever, kind of forget about some of these things.
It's a tedious strategy.
It's not
That's why
fun.
no one does
it's not cool. It's not sexy. It's not like this.
Yep.
But my first question is, what data are you uploading? Right. I know you're using this with a lot of Shopify stores,
Yes.
but you can use this with
anything.
any checkout process
Yep.
whatsoever. You can even use this for lead conversions that
Correct.
don't have a dollar amount attached to
Correct.
it. But what data are you uploading in this CSV file, and what do you think is the most what is the critical kind of data to have?
Sure. So I think the most important data. All right, this is what we're uploading, and then I'll tell you what I think is most important. So we're uploading first name, last name, order ID, time it was purchased, the value associated with that purchase, and then the city, state, country, and everything else that I can map.
Email address,
Phone number.
If you're gathering
Yep.
that, if you have that,
Like
Okay.
literally everything, as
Okay.
much as you can, and then I upload that, and then it goes ahead and matches based off of. But the most important thing that I think that makes it more accurate, unless you're doing it every single day, the time purchased. That's what I think is the most valuable data set in there.
Okay.
Is the time that is
makes
being
sense.
purchased.
That makes sense because there's lots of ways for the data ball to get dropped
Yeah.
and the attribution data ball to get dropped. But a point in time only happens once.
Yep.
And unless you're doing tens of thousands of orders every hour, the odds are that the time of purchase is extremely unique to that one event that
Yep.
Facebook knows happened, but maybe doesn't know who that was.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's what I think is helping the matching of all this. Kind of in my mind, my thought process is these offline events is whatever the pixel doesn't get on the front end, by uploading their first, last name, email, and most importantly, time of purchase and what they purchased, like the dollar amount, that's where I think they're able to go and backtrack and go, this individual was on at this time. This is the email that's associated with them. They did click on an ad. They did see this. That's my theory on what they're doing.
Yeah.
Is that what you think? You're more of the data guy that understands all of this.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you on that. Like, I'm just thinking through how that would work from a data matching perspective. Because taking a big step back, let's just look at the flow. I'm scrolling through and I see one of the ads for one of your clients, and I click on it inside of Facebook's app on my phone. Facebook knows exactly who I am and the exact time that I click on that ad.
Yep.
From there, the data starts to get kind of fuzzy because we're going over to someone's website. If I have iOS 14.5 or any of those others, data tracking starts to get kind of fuzzy and kind of mushy. But they know for a fact who I am and when I clicked that ad, what ad I clicked and what campaign that came from and what ad group that was from.
Because it's on platform.
It's on platform and they know all of that data. But then once I move past that point, the data starts to get a little fuzzy. They're maybe only getting certain bits and pieces.
Yep.
They're maybe getting anonymized some anonymized data or hashed data from the pixel sent back to their servers. But they know that I clicked on that and they kind of know what time those other events are happening.
Yep.
So if I click on this and 10 seconds later there's an add to cart event with a couple of other identifiers, i.e. a browser that's similar to the browser on my phone, the operating system on my phone that's similar to that, they start being able to piece those things back together, but maybe the ball gets dropped on the purchase event or something like that. So when you're uploading a purchase event time with a name and an email address and a dollar amount and all of those things, it's almost like they can connect the dots. If you think about those connect the dot drawings you used to do as kids, or you have your kids do right now, they have dot 1, 2, and 3, and then dot 24 and 25. The offline conversions can say, okay, here's dots, 4, 7, 8, 12, 15. And from there, you can definitely draw a straight line to that conversion and more accurately pinpoint that purchase event to the ad ad set, campaign, and person.
Yep.
And then from there, once they have a complete data picture, algorithm optimizing should be much cleaner on their side for predicting who to put the ad in front of next time.
Based on how you're explaining it, this is my interpretation of that. What you're essentially doing is you're taking Facebook's data on platform, which will never go away because it's their platform.
Yep.
And then you're taking your first-party data, which is yours to own, and you're removing the middleman of iOS 14 or any other Google Chrome or anything else that can get in the way.
Right. Ad blockers, whatever.
And you're just matching them. So you're basically taking the middleman out.
Right.
And putting more of the control in your own hands.
Yeah.
This is why I think this is a great strategy, because now you don't have to worry so much about can you get better data if you take the middleman out. Because what's the one variable that has ruined a lot of this? It's the middleman of iOS and ad blockers and other browser tools that have gotten in the way of
even just
data.
Network problems, right? I don't think a lot of people realize this. I do because I'm a massive nerd. But at any point in time when you're browsing your phone and everything, there's a significant number of data packets sent from your phone between your phone and the server that get dropped, that go to a dead end or whatever. And there's this error checking and everything built in so that you as the user, you don't notice, but it happens all the time. It's messy behind that, like network, internet. It's all messy behind the scenes, and that little tracking event could just go off into nowhere land, right?
Which makes sense. So it's like, so this is almost a safer way to match your data to get it to be as accurate as you can with what you have, around you.
Yeah. Well, and I'm glad you talked about first-party data because that reminded me, and we've talked about first-party data, and I made the prediction, you made the prediction, I will continue to make this prediction that first-party data will 100% be the most important asset your business owns as in the future. And the only way to really have that good first-party data is to own more of your own platform, like own more of your own server stack, all of these things. We've talked about server-side Google Tag Manager, that's putting first-party data into your hands. And I guess to circle back, that it's not surprising that Facebook behind the scenes is probably massively improving their ability to match first-party data from advertisers to their own first-party data in platform. And quietly behind the scenes, probably dumping millions upon millions upon millions of dollars to improve that matching to make this work way better.
I think there's going to be just a shift, and there'll probably be a new solution that comes out that makes this process more seamless with first-party data and offline events and attaching it to ads. I personally don't know how to make that, that platform.
Well, they already are working on it. That's essentially what the conversion API is. Right? And so, and that was the other thing I wanted to kind of circle back to really quick. There's kind of three ways you can get data into the ads manager. That's the pixel. That's the old school way that's been there, and that's the way that's been hammered lately with privacy, whatever. You have this offline events, and that's been around for a long, long, long time, but seems to be getting massive improvement to optimizations. And the third way is the conversion API. And I know people have heard about that, but if you're listening to this and you don't know what the conversion API is, Greg, what is the conversion API?
It's funny because I was going to ask you.
Well, I'll answer. Tell me what you think, and then I'll answer on mine.
My understanding is that the API is connected within Facebook that then gets more information that matches to what's happening on your website. That's like my interpretation is more accurate than like browser pixel information. Is that correct? Like that's how I understand it.
Yes. So from a tech nerd standpoint, there's lots of layers to this, but I'm going to talk about two kind of main layers to how our technology and internet infrastructure is built. the first layer I'm going to talk about is the client side layer.
Okay.
So that is your browser. There's actually code that executes in your browser.
Okay.
Right? And then there's another layer which is called server side.
Okay.
And that is code that operates that executes on the server before anything gets sent to your browser.
Okay.
Okay. So the pixel is all executed in your browser. So that means me as the user, myself as the user, I have a lot of control over what the client side does because that's my browser. I own it. I can install an ad blocker. I could have a firewall. I could have an antivirus.
Tools.
I could have all of these things. I could have a virus on my computer that monitors my traffic and blocks that kind of stuff. There's lots of things that could go wrong intentionally or unintentionally on my side, but I have a lot of control over that. The server side is the owner or whoever runs that server has kind of control over how that operates.
Got it.
So the conversion API is essentially talking from the server side directly to Facebook's server side. And we're cutting out the client side altogether.
Got it.
So there's less data available on the server side. I don't necessarily get access easily to, say, mouse clicks and things like that on the server side because those are client side events. But there are things on the server side I do have access to. A purchase event that has to go through my server, right?
Or add to cart events.
Add to cart events because that goes through my server and that gets updated in my server's database. Adding a lead, that's a server side event. And those are hard events that we know not only when they happen, but we know the data that was submitted and sent to us.
Got it.
And so you're pushing that data. So it is more accurate, but there's kind of less data to go with.
Got it.
Right? Because the Pixel can capture a lot more client-side events. So you're going to get a lot more accurate stuff.
So this is why they have aggregated events.
Yes. Yeah, because it kind of starts to merge all of that behavior
that's,
together.
That's why they limit how many events you can do.
Yeah.
Because they only want so many because from what you just said, server side, it takes some of the other pieces of data. You kind of lose that on the client side, right?
Yes.
So server side, that's why you have aggregated events of give us 8 events. And aggregated events are just events that you set up within Facebook. And once again, I use them and understand what they're doing, but I don't know how to explain them on the technical side. I just know what they're doing, right?
Right.
But it's a way to essentially allow Facebook to be able to optimize for the events still. Versus if you do it just browser, the warning that I see that they get is you won't be able to target people that have the iOS 14 settings.
Right.
And so that pretty much will reduce your reach.
Right. Absolutely. Right. And so with those three, we have offline events, we have the conversion API, and then we have the pixel events, where when we give all three of those channels of data to the ads platform, we're basically feeding the ads manager fertilizer. You think about like you're planting a field, you're just giving it all of this good fertilizer for it to work with. And we've talked about sending positive signals back to the algorithm. We've talked about what types of signals we want to send. And even though you're sending the exact same signals in the conversion API as you are your offline events, and your pixel, essentially, those are all very similar data sets. They can use those to make a statistically significant, guess much more accurately because you're giving it a lot more data.
So I think so with all this kind of, we're talking heavy about data. The reason why we tend to talk about data so much is because the data runs everything, right? No matter, right now we're talking about advertising, but you can talk about weight loss. You can talk about data in school. Data runs everything, and you can't make smart decisions unless the data is correct.
Right.
And then even more importantly, what to do with it. Right. So it does you no good to like have all this data, but then not know what decisions you need to make. And so that's why we're talking so much about data is you want to get that all figured out so that you can start to figure out what drives your business performance, which is everyone wants increased sales and profitability.
Right.
This data will give you that, but you have to work hard to get it all in a way that you can make actual business decisions. So you're maximizing the return on your dollar.
Right.
And that's what all marketers and all business owners really want at the end of the day is, how do I make sure that if I spend $1, that at least a second one comes back, right?
Exactly. Well, and I know I talk about data, and we're both nerds in our own way, and I'll fully admit that. But this doesn't have to be insanely complicated.
Yep.
Like if you're a business owner, solo business owner, small business owner, whatever, I would say this does not have to be super complicated, because most of the work can be done for you if you pick the right platform to kind of run your business off of. And I know this is a big decision and a big question mark that a lot of people have. But it's one of the reasons, say, in the e-com space, why Shopify is the gold standard. Yes. While they're not perfect, they do put a lot of effort into making sure they have tight integration with ad platforms. And they've spent years and years and years doing that. And I wouldn't be surprised if Shopify has an entire team dedicated to basically being a liaison with Facebook and
making
Google
sure that
ads, and making sure that we're doing things the way Google wants it done, and we're doing things the way Facebook wants it done, so that a person can sign up for Shopify store. They can literally click a button and turn on Conversion API. Which, implementing that yourself behind the scenes is a lot of work. But Shopify, you can click a button. There are other platforms that make it this easy. I use a cart software called Pay Kickstart for a lot of my subscriptions and things. They have that integrated. I can just click a button and handle the authorization, and boom, it's done.
Ready to go.
But you need to make sure you pick a platform that allows you to do two things now. That allows you to have the Conversion API and allows you to export your order data with timestamp and all of that stuff, so that you can then upload that. If you have those two pieces in place, this is very easy to do, and it's very approachable. If you don't have those two pieces in place, it can get really complicated.
Well, and you know what? I'm happy you brought that up, because one of the things, just running a lot of different accounts, different clients use different softwares, right? The softwares that used to work really well before you needed aggregated events and server-side and API and all that, they don't work as well anymore at the moment, because there's no way to kind of update the new way of doing it. Like, for example, I'm not going to say any of the company's names, but an example would be, what you used to be able to do is like just take your Pixel ID and plug it in to these platforms where people can use forums. And the Pixel itself would just figure out all the events. And that's all you needed to do. But now you have to verify your domain. Well, now you can't use that domain unless you verify, and there's multiple ways you have to do that. And then if you have multiple websites, you have to figure that out. Then the other thing is the actual conversion events that you wanted to track. Well, you have to be able to put code in now specific pages, versus before that, just that ID alone would fix that for you. So there's multiple steps that are now, and if they're purchasing through these platforms, a lot of them don't have the time that they purchased. Like, they're not recording that, or at least they're not giving it to us.
They're not allowing you to export that.
And so because of that, then your offline events won't be as accurate than it would if you're using platforms that are more up to date, like a Shopify.
Well, and this is you talked about verifying your domain, and that's a really important piece that not a lot of people think about when they're picking a platform. So 5-6 years ago, the standard was, for a very easy kind of funnel situation, was to sign up for a service. I would have my domain name, blakebuse.com or whatever. I would be able to associate that with the funnel builder. But then when it came to making the payment or something, the domain name would be something like
something else.
Something like I don't know, payments.paymentplatform.com or whatever, and then that's how you would make the payment. Well, I can't verify that domain because I don't own that. My payment platform owns that. And so now that's a problem, because I am required to verify that domain in order to capture purchase events through the Pixel. So you have to own those domains now. And so a lot of these companies are having to shift. They did that for a reason, on purpose, and it wasn't a bad reason. It was a security reason. That way they could own the security certificates to make sure the payment was sent securely and encrypted. But now there's this layer of complexity. And it doesn't have to be crazy, though. There's some ways to make it happen. But if you pick the right kind of platform, they will handle creating the security certificates
Yep.
for your domain, because
Yep.
that's easy now. It used to be hard. It's easy now.
Yep.
And it's easy to do that in a secure way. But you have to get a platform that allows you to do that. So do a little bit of research on how they handle payments and
Yep.
things, because some of the ones that used to be big a few years ago are behind the times and
Yep.
don't allow you to do this now, and they need to play a little bit of catch up.
And some advice that I actually would give is, if you're on one of these platforms, in fact, I'm talking with a client after this podcast to see if we can do this. But if you're on one of those platforms and you're wondering, is it worth the change? I would say yes. Even if it's a headache initially,
Mm-hmm.
I would switch over, because whatever, getting that data back into your ad accounts is more important than I think a lot of people understand. Because if your ad platform can't optimize and you're using ads to grow it,
Mm-hmm.
then you're basically already starting at a disadvantage.
Right.
And you're keeping yourself at a disadvantage. You will, I don't want to say never, but you will rarely outperform your competitor who maybe has the right platform
Mm-hmm.
and the same everything. They will outperform you just because that data will get fed into their accounts faster and more efficiently than yours, and therefore they'll win. So
Yeah.
you could have a competitive advantage could be having a better, cleaner platform feeding the data
Yeah.
versus your competitors.
Yeah, yeah, and we keep kind of circling back onto this. As business owners, you're going to have to take more ownership over your platform.
Yep.
It's where the future is. As agency owners, you're going to have to probably have some sort of tech
Yep.
nerd contact or whatever that can help sort out some of these complex platform issues and make sure that the reporting and everything is good. Right?
This guy is my
you're gonna
go-to.
you're going to need more and more of that. And some people might be able to say, well, I can do both, and that's totally fine. But realistically,
You don't
the
wanna
media
do both.
buying and the tech side of things are quite different
They're
skill
absolutely
sets.
way different.
And quite different expertise.
Yep.
And so I would recommend getting a good relationship and sending work, if you're a small agency, sending work back and forth between one another
Yep.
from the media buying and just build that relationship. If you're a little bit larger agency, get a platform
yeah.
specialist in-house that can help sort these issues out. Because if you're going to bring on a client and they have a platform that's not quite right,
Yep.
you either need to do a platform conversion,
Yep.
at least for the payment side of things, or you're going to need to build some sort of custom solution that can overcome the platform limitations.
Exactly.
Because it's the future, where having the wrong platform is going to completely kill your business.
Yep.
Is not that far down the road.
Yes, and it matters. Like back, when I say back in the day, we're talking like just like a year and a half ago. But even it matters so much that I can just tell you from experience, running ads with similar products just on different platforms, the performance is night and day. And trust me, if you want to see a better performance, you want to take your data collection and putting all this together very seriously. Because if you do, trust me, you'll make better business decisions, you'll have better results, and you'll gain an advantage over the competition who's not willing to invest in these types of strategies. So Blake, I know we covered a lot today.
Yeah,
when it
I would
comes
say
to the data.
Yeah, let me just wrap all this up into some because I like to simplify things because it's easy to go down this rabbit hole. The simple thing you should be doing right now is upload offline data daily.
Yep.
That's it. If you're doing everything else, even if you have the conversion API all set up, upload that offline data daily. Do it every day. Just if you do that every day, and you can get it down so that it's a few minute job. It doesn't have to be this crazy difficult thing. Do that every day. I guarantee you're going to start seeing more interesting results, and you'll be able to make better decisions on your ads.
Oh, no
by
doubt.
doing that one simple thing every day for you, your business, or your clients.
So I think, to wrap this up, I think take your data serious and build a system that can track and monitor and use, like Blake got me on this, make business intelligence, right? Using business intelligence to make the right decisions and to grow. So with that being said, Blake, how do people get a hold of you?
BlakeBuse.com, and there's the SM3 group there that Greg and I are both involved with. If you have any questions surrounding marketing, organic social media marketing, any of that stuff, we have a bunch of tools to help you do all of that stuff. It's a great place to be.
And to reach me, you can go to gregmarshall.co. You can book a strategy session if you have any questions. And until next time, we'll see you later.
Okay, bye.